Welcome to Rem and Sam.
Ah,
What was that? We back. No, we
we're
gotta
back.
do that. What? No, that's how you do podcasts in 2024. You got to make fun of all the weird little things. Like what was that, bro? Did you just sound like a dying chick? Like a dying baby bird? Like what's going on, bro? You good? You
Hey,
good right
pause,
now?
bro. Pause. No Diddy.
Oh, whoa.
Did I
We
say Diddy
we
too
are.
early for the algorithm?
Oh gosh, 5 seconds in, we're
Yeah,
already on
that's
that.
probably too
We're
soon.
already hey, not the only controversial celebrity we're going to talk about, but
Yeah, right off the top.
right off the rip. Um, but we have that. We have a little bit of Iowa. We got to talk, of course, about the women's
Hmm.
team. Past week, tough loss. A little bit of NFL draft, some NBA awards. Some piercing truth. I don't know. Talking about chicken wings
Hmm.
on basketball courts, a little frizzy soccer. I
Whoa.
don't know. We're all over the place. All sponsored by Pure Vita bracelets. Shout out BetStamp. Shout out and DRF Sportsbook only in Iowa. We'll definitely be using those right during this episode as we look at the odds favorites. But first things first.
I probably shouldn't have
I'm
said Diddy
not.
before Pura Vida.
Yeah. But first things first. Yesterday, or actually, it was Wednesday.
Hmm.
OJ Simpson succumbed to his battle with cancer. Died due to his battle with cancer, and you know it. I it's a very complicated legacy, Rem. It's one of those things. It's all over the place. And either both of us obviously didn't live during that time. We didn't experience it.
Hmm.
And some people saying this is like the biggest thing before the internet hit the scene. But Rem, I mean, he's not the thing with OJ, as we all know, is that he's not just a Buffalo Bills running back who played in the league 11 seasons, not just the Wikipedia first line, but it was just so much in terms of the trial, what it led to, launching careers, what it meant for the country, talking about crime, race, domestic violence, just all over the place, Ram. But I think the one main question for us who didn't live through that, who kind of get to see it with hindsight
Did he do
is
it?
how how will you remember OJ Simpson?
Hmm. Well, like you said, we're definitely we didn't even have the benefit of experiencing OJ before the trial, but we also didn't
Almost
live
Jordan.
through the trial as well too. Like we said, we were both born in this century, so most of what we've heard with OJ's was stories. Was he in jail when we were like, younger? Because he did serve time, right, for
Yeah, he
breaking
did.
back in and trying to like steal
Yeah,
his stuff. So he might have even been in jail, when we were like early on the internet. I remember when he first got on Twitter. I remember that like being a thing when it was like, oh, OJ is back on Twitter. So I don't know if that coincided with him being back let on prison. I don't even know if he was banned from social media at that point. But I remember when they dropped the video, and I think that was post documentary as well too. I would say the documentary was the first thing that really got me into OJ. Pause, like in like like a serious like do the deep dive type way where it's because like we're saying he was such a popular figure before that. I remember like when I was at work too, and I just saw the news on the TV that he had passed, and I remember thinking like athletes are popular and a lot of people do know him, but in terms of people having an opinion about OJ, obviously because of the trial, he's one of the most popular athletes to ever live. But I mean, would you say he's probably like is he like a top five most just recognizable athlete, even without the trial? And then the trial definitely puts him over the top. But I remember even like when he passed, I was like, I could ask my grandma, be like, hey, did you hear OJ passed? And she would like have an opinion about it. And I can't even think of another athlete that she would even have that about. Obviously, again, big note because of the trial, but I mean, like we're saying that notoriety, he's got to be. I mean, I would say he maybe is even the most just the most recognizable athlete of all time.
yeah, he's definitely up there. I think for him, it was, I mean, first of all, it was like, I think 140 million viewers during the verdict for his trial. I mean, put
Oh,
that in perspective. That's like 3, 4 times the Super Bowl. And that's back in the
yeah.
70s. So it's even less people, like more
140
people
million is
huddled around
crazy.
TV. That's
100,
wild.
100. The Iowa South Carolina basketball game was the most watched basketball game in 5 years at 19 million viewers.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 100. But it was that it pushed it beyond. I think it was just touched a nerve in America of, obviously, I mean, you can't discount like a lot of it was race. I mean, there was a lot of, him being accepted by, a majority of America, controlled, being accepted by what some would say as white America, by the majority of America. And him making this picture of an athlete that had never really been in culture. There's MJ, but he still has his issues behind the scenes. People who know he's betting, like he's treating people like trash. But to have this pretty much upstanding, fine, clean cut, everything's well guy who keeps rising higher and higher in fame. People kind of know how he is. And then for him to not only have like it be clear that it's him, even though people didn't quite get DNA, and then it's also the time before the internet, so like people can't search stuff up. There's a little bit of ignorance, which allows for a lot more theories to run wild. And so you combine all of that with the fact that he had a no guilty, like he got away with it. I mean, it just compounded on the legend of that was, and it is just I think it's just crazy to think, what could have, how much it, just racked the whole world. And then on top of that, the whole chase and all that happening in LA after the Rodney King protest, LAPD and the messing of its own, like, I mean, it literally was like the perfect storm. And I mean, I don't think a writer could have written it up much better. And so to have all this, and then he sticks around with quotes like, "Oh, I'm scared to walk around LA because I run into the killer," or he writes the book
Yeah.
like, "Who did it?" Or like, there's that clip with the interview where he plays that prank on the reporter. Like he
With
just
the
keeps
knife?
doing those tidbits. I mean, even at the end, days before he died, he made his kids sign NDAs to see him. He made them sign NDAs to even visit him on his deathbed. So who knows? I mean, people are saying he's has millions of dollars of debt, $114 million of debt to the Ron Goldman family. But I mean, there's just so many people involved in it. And the people who were involved further, built on that fame, look to the Kardashians now, Goldman, all that. So it's just so many different factors that it really, I don't know if it's something that can be done again with just how segmented everyone is. Now everyone's in their own niche thing. Everyone's in their own, you can all do your different versions of content. You can be in a whole different world and not know like some celebrity or something like that. I mean, it's always crazy to me. I'll see like some artists have like, tens of millions of followers and, almost a billion.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, how have I never heard of this? And so
there's some chick going around right now. That was just at a Lakers game, and she was tagged in a post, and I clicked on her. She's got like 100 million followers. I was like, I've never heard of her before.
Exactly. So that can happen is thanks to the internet, and and I don't think event like OJ Simpson can happen again because of just how segmented everyone now is.
Well, and unfortunately, because of because of the trial and the subsequent legacy that's going to leave with him is like, again, the reason that OJ was so famous, so popular was, and the doc and all that stuff lays this out better, but like he was a barrier breaking guy. Like I think he's the third, black man to win the Heisman Trophy. I think there's a running back, Ernie Davis. believe from Syracuse, and then another UFC running back as well too. Mike Garrett won the Heisman before him, but early on, he's the first Heisman winner to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And, statistically, what he did as a running back too has really yet to been matched, especially when you consider the fact that he put up all the numbers he did in a 14 game season. And then, like the Hertz commercials as well too. The doc lays out the importance of those. Like, I don't think like even somebody breaking through that kind of way, like you're saying, like commercial, like who could get a boost in fame because of commercial right now? Like, I mean, it does help. I guess it shows it more shows a person has to be a certain level of fame to start getting that kind of stuff. Like we're seeing with Caitlin Clark making that rise, but even still, like it's not like the Caitlin Clark State Farm commercials could have the same impact as those OJ Hertz commercials did, and the way and then with the movies, he passed away Wednesday, like you're saying, and then the news broke, I believe Thursday morning, if I'm remembering correctly, is I believe when I saw it on SportsCenter while I was at work that he had passed away. So I was like, of course I got to go home, and that night after all the games are done, NBA games are done, I got to watch Naked Gun to R.I.P. OJ. But like we're saying, he's got the whole Naked Gun trilogy, crosses over as an actor as well too. So I mean, he is like a groundbreaking figure. It's just he's also in a category with a bunch of other figures that you don't want to be in as well too because of the trials. So like you're saying, definitely complicated. But I mean, like how famous the trial was, would you say that that's like where would you put that in list of moments like for history for you looking back? Just like things you think about. Is it like the most popular thing I was trying to think, like, is it the most defining thing of the 90s? The trial?
I mean, it's definitely up there. You can't have, I mean, the amount of times I've seen footage from that police chase, and
the chase for
it's
sure.
Just never, that's a moment that I don't think can happen again. Like flat out, like I don't think there's ever going to be a police chase, something like that.
Did you always know it was a low speed chase?
Yeah.
I always thought it was a high speed chase at first.
Well, you can see like the car is perfectly in line. Like,
No, just like before I'd actually like watched the whole clip. I just like as a kid, I remember always thinking it was like a high speed chase, and they were all flying after him. And then when you watch the clip, he's going like 25 on the highway.
Exactly, and it's like that was the whole point of the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, you just had so many iconic moments from that just will never happen again. And I think the closest thing, which was probably around that century too, was Diana. Princess Diana overseas, her dying in that car crash.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
True. You want to talk about ratings for, let me see, let's look up the ratings for Princess Diana's funeral.
Yeah. But again, like we mentioned, that's back then because all of America, you could kind of only watch like 5 things on the television, or, you didn't have the internet to go look up stuff. So, you kind of were stuck with what you got. And, I think it's just nowadays there's just so many apps and algorithms are made so that you can watch more of what you want instead of like what's actually going on, which is why you have so many people in their own like little cells. But yeah, I think it's crazy.
Do you want to guess how many people tuned into the Princess Diana funeral?
Like 300 million?
Worldwide?
How many was it? 300 million?
2.5 billion people to the Princess Diana funeral.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Did somebody sponsor that? Is that like brought to you by State Farm?
Okay. Someone would. Nowadays, someone would. Yeah, 2.4, but that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I guess something close was the World Cup this past year.
Oh,
that was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because it was just, it was Mbappe and Messi. But there wasn't like, there was a little bit of build up, but, it didn't nearly, besides the one game, like that was just a sugar rush, beyond that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's too many, but yeah, RIP OJ, or, some people may not say that because of, he might have done it. Who knows? Dude, people are still asking to this day. But
Where would you put OJ in your all-time running back rankings? Like fair and square, just evaluating the football talent. Where would you
oh my
put him?
gosh, I don't know, man. I ain't looked at the numbers. Well, where do you put him? I
Well,
mean, what is it? Barry Sanders, AP,
yeah, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith,
Walton Payton, Smith. So what, is
Gale
he a top
Sayers.
5 back?
I mean, the thing is, let me double check the number that he put up the season he ran for 2,000 yards, because he had 2,000 yards in 14 games. Like his yards per game number is not even close to being touched yet.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's going to be even more wonky with them keep adding games. Are they adding one next year, or is it the year after?
Yeah, but they keep adding running backs. Everybody's got a committee now, so
nobody
gets the yards.
Yeah. No one gets the same amount of brain damage.
Yeah. He had 2,003 yards in 1973, 143 yards a game.
Sheesh.
Won the MVP that year.
Almost 150 a game.
Just on the ground. That's not all purpose.
Yeah.
And then ran for 130 yards a game in 14 games in 1975 and was second in MVP voting that year. Fran Tarkington won the MVP for the Vikings. Terry Metcalf.
Metcalf. Oh, shout out the Lakers bringing back the game against the Grizzlies to one point.
Oh, are they making a comeback?
Live watching it. They're trying. I don't know. The Grizzlies just got a steal.
GG Jackson is trying to carry this Grizzlies team against LeBron right now. And it's kind of working.
Is he the 30th best _1 option in the league?
I mean, I would say that's a compliment for GG Jackson. He's now a
Jordan Poole.
He's now a #1 option. Oh, it's a tough question. GG Jackson's on a rookie contract right now.
You know what I'm saying? You look at them bottom teams. He's not the worst #1 option. Definitely the youngest. All right, so yeah, I didn't have anything else on OJ. Do you have anything else? I don't know.
Greatest running back of all time, but it is what it is.
Oh, he's gonna drop that.
I mean, you can't say it, but it is. I mean, he ran for 150 yards a game in 73. So
yeah, he definitely put up the stats. All right, from one loss to another, Iowa women's basketball team played this past Sunday, right? It was Sunday.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark. We'll look. We might talk about it a little bit later, but definitely Iowa's greatest basketball player ever. Played her last game. It's great. You're like miles above everyone when they retire your jersey the second your season's over. We're just just lock it in. We're not gonna give you a week, buddy. Anyway. So there'll never be a 22 at Iowa basketball again. No one else will put on that jersey. But sadly, the women's team was not able to secure the championship again. This time losing to undefeated South Carolina, 36-0. Shout out. Caitlin Clark had 38-5 in that game. But I don't know, Rem. I mean, it definitely looked like she was definitely getting tired at the end of that game. Like she looked pretty cooked.
Yeah, I mean, long season, long run. It's South Carolina. They're undefeated. Dawn Staley. I mean,
Shout out also Camelia Cardoso.
Yeah, she definitely tore it up. I mean, there was a whole the matchup versus SC in particular was just it's a tough matchup for the team. And Tessa Johnson? They had a freshman that had like 20 plus points 19 points, career high. Had a day. So, I mean, I don't think anybody was surprised by the result.
I think I was more surprised that Iowa beat UConn because I thought that was, I don't know. I really thought Paige and that backcourt, I thought they were playing great defense, and I was kind of surprised they were able to squeak that one out.
I know that was definitely
call.
Because like we were saying, they might have had the, Aaliyah Edwards as well too, just the overall strength of the team for UConn. And I know they get the call at the end that makes things feisty. Maybe people say UConn might have, should have won that one anyways. But I mean, Caitlin Clark played well in that game. Stolke played well in that game. So from a legacy standpoint, I mean, if she had beaten South Carolina, but the thing is, could she have been the greatest basketball player, like the greatest college women's basketball player of all time, if she won the title this year? Because the biggest winner of this whole thing is Breanna Stewart, right? Because now that Caitlin Clark doesn't have the ring, so now it's Breanna Stewart, the 4 for 4, the four outstanding players, couple of All-Americans in there as well too. But the fact that we've also got to like rehab that conversation and her name's been brought back up and like reconfirmed in that. So it's not like a ring at this point. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have put her past Stewie.
Yeah, I mean, the resume, championships is what matters, No
disrespect to Caitlin Clark. We're the number one Caitlin Clark pod with a Frisbee segment, but
yeah, no, it is. I mean, let's see here. I'm trying to look who is the greatest Iowa athlete of all time. I know there's some great wrestlers out there. What was it? Gable.
Do we have any Olympic gold medalists?
Shout out Chuck Long. Over 10,000 yards.
For sure.
1986 Rose Bowl. Tim Dwight, return specialist, was 7th in Heisman voting. That's crazy. If you're a Heisman voter as a specialist, let's say Kinnick, the only Heisman trophy in school, got the Heisman Maxwell Water Camp. That's back in the day. BJ Armstrong. People forget. Role player on some good teams.
BJ Armstrong made an impact on the Jordan teams.
Let's see.
I mean, do we get to claim Kurt Warner? Like, are we claiming, is it just Iowa? Are you saying Iowa school athletes or Iowa native athletes? I mean, she's taking both either way, but just to open up the conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because Warner has the Super Bowl MVP, 2 regular season MVPs. He has a little bit of a pro resume. I guess he doesn't have the college resume. It's not like he has the, right now, Caitlin Clark's just got the one part of it with the college resume.
Tom Brands and Lincoln McElravy, both 3-time wrestling champions.
Olympic golds, though?
Career record was 96-3, 2 undefeated seasons. That's stupid. No, we're talking about their college careers, though. Caitlin hasn't had a chance to go get some golds. You can make some argument for some wrestlers, but we're not talking about best. We're talking about greatest. And in terms of my book, shout out Kinnick for bringing home the only Heisman, but I think Caitlin is sweeping the board as Iowa's greatest athlete of all time.
Well, you said his name a little bit earlier, but
particularly close.
But Dan Gable, I'm doing a little wrestling research on the fly. It does seem like Dan Gable is very highly regarded in wrestling circles, and he's a Waterloo native. So shout out Dan Gable, Olympic gold at 72.
If there was one person I would, listen
is
to,
it Gable?
It's probably Dan Gable. Yeah, won the NCAA tournament twice.
Wasn't Joe Burrow born in Iowa?
Joe Shiesty?
Let me double check the Joe Burrow birthplace real quick.
Dan Gable, he went undefeated as a high schooler, lost just one match in college, and did not allow a single point in winning a gold medal at the Munich Olympics.
Oh, so he's
Perhaps
South Carolina,
the greatest wrestler
Olympics
ever. Dan Gable displayed a focus that was nearly unmatched.
They called him the greatest wrestler ever?
Museum. That's what the Olympics say. That's crazy.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, born in Ames.
Gable also has the coaching thing. He led Iowa to 15 national titles in 21 seasons. 355, 21, and 5. So in 21 seasons, His team only lost 5 times.
So I got a couple of other names for wrestlers
Yeah.
that weren't Dan Gable. I said greatest wrestlers of all time. It seems like The Undertaker is a notorious top 5. Randy Macho Man Savage, The Rock.
The Rock. The Rock was born in Iowa?
Mick Foley. No, better wrestlers.
Oh. Oh, better wrestlers? I don't know about that. Well, we're talking about real wrestling though. I don't know. I mean,
wait,
Dan
The
Gable did
Undertaker's not
coach
real?
USA teams. So I don't know. Shout out him. He's a cyclone though, so we can get out of here with that. Shout out for anyway, but
Yes,
you
Stone
get my
Cold
point.
Steve Austin.
I'd put Dan Gable in next to pretty much anyone else.
Dan Gable, somebody should have given him a shot in the WWE.
It's crazy. His one loss, it's got like so many views. His one college loss.
Who did he lose to? What school was it?
Larry Owings. I don't know.
Big Ten school?
It was like 13-11.
Michigan?
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, it's got to load still.
Purdue?
Oh, Washington.
Huskies?
Yeah, Huskies.
Pac-12? Pac-12
His
beat the...
only loss has 250,000 views. Like his one loss is just that.
Can we get Dan Gable?
No, I'm pretty sure we actually can't. We could try.
Let's
get IT on it.
Yeah, we'll see if we can slide into Dan Gable's DMs. Dan Gable, if you're listening, call in.
Shout out. All right. Well, anyway, that's all to say. Shout out Caitlin Clark, greatest athlete, in my opinion, in Iowa history. Just give her the crown already. And have you seen the prices for the Indiana team already? She's not even on the roster. Yeah. And the prices are through the roof. I think it's like 3-4 times like the average price to get into an Indiana Fever. Is it Indiana Fever game?
The Fever. And I think they're scheduled to play the Aces. I don't remember exactly when that game is, but the game that they're scheduled to play at Vegas at the Aces, the Aces are having to find a bigger arena to have to handle that game because Caitlin Clark would be on the Fever at that point. Drafted number one overall. The draft hasn't even happened yet. She's not on the team.
Not even on the roster. That's crazy.
She's not even there.
Well, shout out ESPN for some great journalism. Caitlin Clark drives spike in fever. WNBA, we took an interest. Yeah, got him. A little zinger there for the folks at home.
You know we love headlines on the Rem and Sam Pop. Well, we
are journalists alive. At heart. Fever sees increase. What kind of name is Fever though? Can we have a real talk about that?
It's true, especially post pandemic.
Like,
I'm surprised that didn't get canceled.
I don't like why.
The Indiana
Some
bid?
Fever talk.
The Indiana polio?
Are they? Not
it's
after,
true.
After FDR.
What is that named
soon,
after?
Too soon. FDR.
And why Indiana?
The Fever.
It's not like they're playing in Wuhan.
Let's see what IT says. They're named after what?
Is it a guy?
Let's see.
Did John Fever found the team?
The state having basketball fever. Indiana is a basketball state.
Oh, basketball fever. Indiana would be the state with basketball fever.
Let's see some of the interesting names. I will admit, the WNBA, we can work on our names. Shout out WNBA. You're going to have a lot more viewers pulling up at some of these games. We got to work on our mascots. All right. Atlanta Dream, Chicago Sky.
The Aces is good.
I don't know if Connecticut Sun is still a thing.
You like the Aces, right?
Yeah.
Las Vegas Aces?
Phoenix Mercury. I've never
Mercury's not
been to the
bad.
Mercury. I was like, what Mercury? I don't know.
LA Sparks. That's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. He Sparks.
Is it
But
Seattle
yeah,
Storm?
name your
Seattle
team the
Storm's good.
Sun. Just the Sun. Or like, what do we name our team? Oh, the Sky. Yeah.
It's true. There already is a Suns in the NBA, and it's not in Phoenix, or it's not in Connecticut. It's in Phoenix.
Yeah. Anyway, we're can't wait to be watching more WNBA this year. And yeah, hopefully it'll be easier to catch some playoff games. They are at a weird time with coinciding with other stuff, but
I'll be watching the draft though.
yeah.
Be locked in at least
But
on the first pick. At least till
yeah,
Angel
I'm like, how
Reese
many
gets
picks
picked.
in? How many picks? Top 10?
Till Angel Reese gets picked.
Okay.
Is Haley Van Lith in the draft? I think she's in the portal, not the draft.
Yeah, Ron. Yeah, she's picking her team. They're not picking her. NFL draft questions. Moving down the line. What are some questions you got, Rem? Because if it's there's some weird undercurrent of like, is Caleb Williams actually going number one? And it's making me, it's kind of
Are you hearing
annoying,
things?
but I don't know. It's like Bleacher Report or something. It's like, come on. Come on, like get out of here. But any real draft stuff you're hearing?
What?
What's going on?
Well, speaking of the quarterbacks, we haven't really got a chance to hear what you think about the top guys this year yet. I know a couple episodes back when we had Fataport a couple episodes ago, we did a quarterback episode, and I haven't changed too much at that point. My top three between the guys, I had Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Drake May 3. But did you have a top three? Have you had a chance to form an opinion on these guys yet?
Yeah, wait, so you said you had Caleb Williams, Drake May.
I have Daniels.
Drake May 2. Oh, Daniels 2.
Yeah.
Drake May 3.
Drake May 3. And obviously,
are you for another JJ McCarthy stuff? All right.
Obviously, Caleb Williams in a little bit of a tier by himself there too. But
yeah, it's like a whole nother level. Yeah, no, I definitely have Williams way ahead, number one. And then that's where it gets interesting because I do think Daniels is the second best quarterback in this draft. But I don't know if you want to take him because of his injuries. It's just really worrying when you think about, what his injuries are. And I think that's where Drake May is close. But yeah, I think if I was at 2 and you're that high and you might as well just go big or go home. That's where I guess I would still take Jaden Daniels at 2, Drake May at 3. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see too much of Drake May, but I know like he's he's huge, he's a big guy. Like, he definitely has had some issues with his decision making, a lot of sacks. But yeah, I mean, I would have Jaden Daniels too, even if you're a little bit worried about him getting hurt. And then I have Drake May 3, and then at 4, I'm gonna take Penix. I actually, I
over McCarthy.
I definitely would have him over McCarthy. Yeah. I again, if you're an NFL team, you're looking for an NFL quarterback, and I just don't know what JJ McCarthy, in the big moments, what he has in terms of being a passer, being able to spread the ball, if I can really trust him. So, I'd put him over JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix. That's where I'd put him. I'd put him at 4, and then I probably have McCarthy and then Nix, and then you start getting into the Rattler, Pratt, Travis area.
I have a little Rattler stock.
Yeah, I have his high school tape. He's interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
The first half against Georgia this year, not bad.
Yeah. No, he has some really quick throws. I like how fast the ball gets out of his hand. He's a quick guy. But yeah, that's pretty much where I stand. I definitely like Jaden Daniels, or I worry about Jaden Daniels, and I'm high on Penix. But I will admit, he did have a really good offense compared to the teams they played.
Since you have Penix and McCarthy flipped like a lot of people, especially now with a lot of the draft rumors. I think a lot of people are really warming up to the idea of McCarthy being, top 10, top 5 draft pick. Would you be that aggressive if you were a team for Penix? Like if you're the Vikings and you're looking to trade up outside the top 3, with those top 3 guys off the board, where everybody again now is pegging McCarthy in that spot pause and again, it is because of the injury history with Penix taking a guy in the top 5. It's not like we don't understand that, but do you see Penix as that good, I guess, that you would make that aggressive move for him and it could be worth it?
Well, I mean, it also depends on like how desperate you need him. Because if I'm a team that needs a quarterback and like will play them day one, I'm probably not taking Penix, to be honest. I don't know, like playing him day one, getting him out there. I think that's just asking him to get injured, and then you hurt his confidence, and you bring him down. So if you're like one of the teams that has a good backup or has someone who can play a couple of games, that's where I take Penix. But if you're that out, I mean, I'd almost look at maybe a Bo Nix. If you're looking for a day one starter, someone who can take some hits out there. Just because you just worry about those injuries and that stuff piling up. If you're outside looking in, or you take a project, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know if I would. I'd very worry about Penix being a day one starter and just throwing him out there like right out the gate.
So Minnesota, for example, you wouldn't trade up for him, but you would take him at 11 then?
Yeah, no, I'd take him. Yeah, that'd be good.
Would you rather do that or take Bo Nix at 23? Because they've got that sneaky second pick laying around if they don't trade up.
Yeah, I think considering you have Sam Darnold, you have Justin Jefferson, who's kind of, you have the potential to be an explosive offense. I think you could take. It makes sense to take Penix at 11 just to keep Jetta bought into the team that it won't be Sam Darnold for forever.
And
because you bring in Bo Nix and you're like, really, Bo Nix? I mean, try telling a wide receiver that.
I don't know. You show Bo Nix Bo Nix could throw those same screens out to Justin Jefferson in the pros that he was throwing
screens. We're talking about bombs, bro.
Throwing at Oregon. Well, then you just check in Sam Darnold. Then he checks it down the field. No, I guess that's where you would bring in Penix for that. But if you're another team and you're looking to trade, or like I know the Vikings right now are that consensus team that everybody's looking to make that move, and a lot of people are looking at them to make that move to go at 4 right now to Arizona. But if you're those 2 and 3 teams right now, because I obviously with Chicago trading Fields, it's pretty locked in that they're gonna take a guy there.
Yeah.
But are you sold on the situations for those? What do you think about quarterbacks development in general? I guess maybe that's even a better thing to ask. Do you think that it's more like actually just the guy is good and he's going to be good, or how important is that system into his development? And nature versus nurture is obviously the important thing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what you think too, especially after having Mahomes, because I feel like you could almost argue either way for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think nature is more important. I think it's wildly more important. Giving that quarterback time to adjust, giving him that confidence to build. I mean, yeah, Mahomes came into a system where you have Kelsey, top 2 tight end the whole time he's been there. He hasn't lost a game while Kelsey's in. He had Tyreek Hill, the fastest wide receiver in the league. He could catch whatever. And, he had a decent offensive line, decent defense, and, an all-time coach. At least, I mean, top 5, top 10, definitely up there for Reed. And so when you combine all those things, I mean, it's, then that's where you have, talks of a dynasty, because you have that ultra talented guy getting into that ultra talented place. But, if he had gone somewhere like the Cardinals, dysfunctional front office, the owners don't know what they're doing half the time. Their coaches are changing out every year. It's slim pickings at the wide receiver spot. It's just, having all that dysfunction can really mess up a quarterback. And you would have seen Mahomes get worse and worse into his bad habits that he had, into those bad habits of throwing balls that he didn't have to, making dangerous plays, stuff like that. And I think having that good, I think the nature only amplifies whatever the talent the person had. Like, I mean, Shanahan obviously has made some good quarterbacks, some decent quarterbacks look really good, but this talent still has to be there. And that's why, you look at teams like the Panthers last year with Bryce Young, like, yes, him being short was an issue, but it was 10 times worse because of the area he was in. And so, it makes it near impossible for him to succeed. Or you see last year with Tua, like, because of all the weapons and all the stuff they had, they're like, oh my gosh, this offense is great, but it still doesn't change him as a player. He still has his limitations, and that's where you see those issues where if a little thing is off with, if the defense is throwing off the Dolphins a little bit, then they're not putting up 70. So, I mean, I think it's definitely the nature way amplifies what the quarterback already has. And then, sadly, that's why Luck didn't stick around, because he just the team didn't support him enough. And and because probably top 3 top 2 prospect of all time at that position, and it didn't matter. I mean, he literally did whatever he could, and the nature just kept dragging him down and had to leave the league.
So yeah, you're saying that the player is kind of going to be whoever they're going to be, but the situation is going to determine, if they're actually going to win the Super Bowl and actually break through and get that kind of achievement stuff done. Because so you're saying, yeah, Mahomes goes to another team. I forget who had the number 1 pick in the draft that year, because I remember Trubisky goes number 2 to the Bears, but I forget who the number 1 pick was that year. Was that the Myles Garrett draft? Or Mahomes? I know Watson as well too goes to the Texans, but it's like Mahomes is still obviously great, but he's not, 3-time Super Bowl champion at this point in his career. Yeah, Myles Garrett won. Mitch Trubisky went 2 to the Bears, and then Deshaun Watson. Oh, my bad. Deshaun Watson went after Mahomes. Mahomes went 10 to the Chiefs. The Chiefs traded up in that draft, and then Watson was number 12 to the Texans. But I was going through and looking at the quarterbacks that have won the MVP, and 12 of the guys that won the MVP were top 5 picks, and they won 18 MVPs. Steve McNair and Peyton Manning split an MVP one year, but you give him full credit for 12 guys, 18 MVPs worth. The rest of the, outside the top 5 guys, and I get it's a broader range as well too, but you have 17 guys winning the MVP and accounting for 30 MVPs. But obviously, the big reason that the nature versus nurture thing is even a conversation is because a lot of the times the teams that the quarterback's going, like you're saying, they're just so bad. And I get, we're leaving out all the guys too that didn't even make it there at that level as a top 5 guy. So I think Caleb Williams at number 1, I think is, like we're saying, that's kind of lock it in. But if you're the Commanders at 2 and you're the Patriots at 3, and again, the reason you're drafting a quarterback anyways is to try to win the Super Bowl. So every move is can we get as close to winning a Super Bowl as possible? But you're saying just regardless of what those situations look like, just take Jaden Daniels, take Drake May, and just figure it out after that? Or is there a sneaky thing where, hey, these other teams are going to get the Minnesota Vikings are going to, they have a little bit of a better situation. They're looking to be aggressive. They trade up. We collect some assets. We get some further things. And we try to put together some better foundational pieces. And then Mahomes was, I get, like I'm saying, not being a top 5 pick is a broader range. Mahomes was still a top 10 draft pick for a quarterback, but the Chiefs traded up a little bit, but that is a big difference in what a team could be between the 10th pick in the draft and the first pick in the draft. I mean, that's what the Bears are literally facing this year. And that's why they're such a good situation is they should actually be the 10th pick in the draft, but they have this number 1 pick because of the Panthers trade last year, trading up for Bryce Young. But if you're looking at Jaden Daniels and Drake May, you're just saying just figure it out with those guys versus getting cute and playing around with the assets.
Yeah, I think it is interesting, and I think that's what's their face? Um the Patriots are looking to do. I think they're talking about, not having the right nature for quarterback and thinking about trading back
Yeah,
so they could get more pieces around the quarterback. So, I think there are some interesting potential trades that could happen. But at the same time, is it smart to make that trade? Because what are you going to get? What is the future that you have? I mean, you right now have for sure the third pick in a loaded quarterback class. And, it's
it's
the same
true.
way the Bears did it, where they waited because they knew this class would be loaded and they got lucky. I mean, the Panthers ended up, giving them pretty much giving them the number one pick. But it's that math where we could not take a quarterback out of this class, out of this loaded class, and wait and build. But or you could just take the quarterback, have a backup in there, take the hits, develop him, and that's not a guarantee, but at least you're not getting that mileage on him, that the hits, the wear and tear. I mean, obviously, there's also the experience, which who knows? I mean, with the Patriots, the season could turn topsy turvy, and they could be, in another situation. But I mean, that's something that's been mentioned. If they trade back, there's no guarantee that they'll be in this position again. I mean, they could end up having an average season and have the fifth or 11th pick, and then they're no longer in this great spot. So I think each team, I think there's going to be less trades than people think, because for some reason for draft stuff, I don't know if it's for the article. So it's like, oh my gosh, we could do this trade and this trade. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
chill out. Like it's rarely like not everyone's going to do a trade,
And they
but
never happen in the top 5 either. They're always in like,
yeah,
the
exactly.
16th pick. Somebody traded up to 12.
Exactly. It's like, no, it's not like the Bears are not trading the number one pick again. Um, but I think I wouldn't be surprised that the Patriots would be the one team I'd look out to if there was a trade to happen. Just because of how destitute their cupboard is. It's tough. It's tough,
And
even with their will.
and that was the one team I was looking at because I think where the Commanders are at right now, the Commanders might actually, from a roster standpoint, be a little bit worse, which is, definitely concerning, especially if we're talking if they're going to take Jaden Daniels, who's an injury history guy. But that franchise is pretty just desperate for anything, especially with the new ownership change in there. And, I don't know if New England has that exact same pressure on them. And New England's defense was a little bit better than people gave him credit for last year. They bring some of those guys back, but the offensive line is really shaky. They just, they run back basically the same group of weapons. So if it's a young quarterback, and again, like if Brissett is playing and, Drake May is in there, that's a whole new coaching staff that's in place, a first time coaching staff as well, too. This is Gerard Mayo's first job. I forget who he brought in as his coordinators, if all that stuff's been finalized at this point. But, for Mayo, the head coach, just being a first time head coach, like if we're not getting Caleb Williams, like you're saying, where it's just he's kind of gonna be good, and these guys have to depend on some kind of development. That's the team where it's like, I don't know if they're in a position to bring in a new quarterback and do that stuff quite yet. And if we're looking at a draft down the road, I don't know, they just have to say, yeah, maybe we're not in this position again, but we'll do what the Vikings are doing. We'll just have to be aggressive and try to, trade some other second, third round pick for a first. And then, we can package that or a player or whatever, try to move up into the top 3 and get a franchise guy. I think, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it too, I think both the teams have a really, really strong case just because there's really nothing there. And again, if you're not getting the absolute top guy in the draft, because I do think both those guys would need a little bit of, you're going to need to bring those guys along a little bit, even though Jaden Daniels, I think, is a little bit older. I think both those guys would need a little bit of development. And I just don't know if either of those teams are in a position to do it. So that'd give me a little bit of concern. Are the Grizzlies making a comeback again?
No, I interrupt this
Oh, whoa,
podcast for a big announcement. The Spurs came back and beat the Nuggets 121-120 because Wemby scored 17 points in 3 minutes.
Reggie Miller.
Wemby dragged this team, putting up 34, 12, and 6 on his own, man. 17 points in 3 minutes. I mean, it's wow.
I'm throwing the rewatch on right now.
Rem said, screw the pod.
Do we have to pause the pod?
I'm telling you, I'm first of all, shout out, a little pat on my back. My all NBA team, didn't hear Bill Simmons at all. Straight from the dome was exactly the same as his. And so, for anyone who questions
all the way through
knowledge, except for one thing, he had Paul George in his third all NBA team, and I got Wemby, and I stand by it. I don't care.
We're right.
I'll stand. I'll take it. I'll take the hit in the annals of time. Wemby's hitting half court threes in this game. Like, he's beating the champions. Like, this is stupid. Wemby, I'll stand by the take.
Yeah, Wemby put up 34 and 12 tonight. Like you're saying, just took down the defending champs. It's a good thing that they're not going to see the Spurs in the playoffs. Wemby?
Yeah.
Jokic is already terrified.
This is, I mean,
Jokic's trying to go to the East.
It may not be mentioned on, maybe it'll get mentioned on ESPN, but for people who are really watching basketball, like NBA, this is, I mean, that's huge. Like,
and to do it with this point in the season with the guys being rested as well too, and to do it with the game he was having, he was really early in the game. He was in kind of a state that just he's one of the reasons he's fit in so well with Spurs culture is because he's one of those Spurs type of guy. He's got that Tim Duncan cool demeanor to him, but there was a part early in this game where he got a technical foul early. He was, pushing some guys around. He was getting pushed around as well too. So to kind of, and there was a play where Aaron Gordon knocked him down before the inbound pass, and he got back up, and you could tell he was really trying to post up Gordon, got the ball, and it wasn't a successful possession, unfortunately. But to have that, to get the fire in the game, to get these little moments, and to be like, hey, I'm taking this personally. I don't care that you're the MVP. I'm going after you. This is we're playing in San Antonio. This is my home court. This is my city. You can't come here and do this to me. Pause.
No, I mean, these are the little moments that, show greatness. Like Broncos Mahomes game, little last, I mean, that was a close 2-point game too,
Was there a game-winning drive or something in that one?
Yeah, something. But we've seen Wemby grow every single time he's on the court. He's gotten, you've seen him get a little better. And for it to be a 1 point, the Nuggets need this game. The Nuggets to seal the number 1 seed, they need this game. This was not a end of the year, we don't the Celtics, let's roll the ball out and hope, something happens. No, they need that space against the Timberwolves, against OKC. And, even if it was on the road, all their guys played. Like, this is not, and they got beat. Would
Paul George have done this?
I don't know. First play of the game, Wemby was getting shoved. Maybe that's what got him mad. He was getting folded in the paint.
I mean, their second leading scorer tonight was Mamouchvili.
Mamouchvili? Was that the guy drafted by the Bucks?
Yeah, he was on the Bucks at one point.
Yeah, I think he was drafted by the Bucks.
He's played with Antetokounmpo and Wembanyama.
What in the 2006 Cavs is going on with the Spurs, man?
But I think that's a really important point you're making about the 1 seed, because this could be one of these things we look back and go, what happened in the Nuggets playoff run? Oh, the Spurs game where they beat them. And now 4 years later, when the Spurs are in the playoffs and they're up 3-2 and it's at home and they're going to take the Nuggets crown, and it comes full circle again.
That's crazy. I mean, so do the Timberwolves have a tiebreaker against them? I don't know. I don't know how the tiebreakers work, because they did beat the Timberwolves last 2 nights ago.
They did, and that would tie the season series, I believe, between those two teams. And at that point, the Timberwolves would have the next tiebreaker, which would have been divisional win percentage. And then I forget what the next tiebreaker would have been over that.
Yeah, so that means if the Timberwolves win out, then they will be the number 1 seed. Now I wonder what the OKC thing is. I don't know.
So yeah, going into
they're
tonight,
right up there in there too.
Going into tonight, the Nuggets were the clear 1 seed, and the Timberwolves were the Timberwolves and the Thunder were tied for the 2 seed. With the Timberwolves,
but it looks like the Timberwolves are on top. Yeah,
but yeah, they're going to win tonight
with them tied. So yeah, if the Timberwolves win out, they can be the number 1 seed, and the Nuggets will be the 2 seed. Wemby is getting, I don't know, it's a 4 seconds. It looks like they're about to beat the Hawks. It was a close game too, but Timberwolves are up 109, 104 with 4 seconds left. So looks like Jokic will be the one in the end getting a punch in the gut.
And the Timberwolves have Phoenix left. Phoenix and Atlanta.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the correct order, but those are their last 2 games.
Who are the Timberwolves?
Yeah, Phoenix and Atlanta.
Yeah. So they just beat Atlanta. Well, there's
okay. So they got Phoenix.
Yeah.
So if they beat Phoenix, they're the 1 seed.
That's it. They clinch it, yeah. Down to the wire.
Wow, Wemby.
He said, I'm gonna get you back. He got him back in blood for that one.
He must have heard that he got left off the All-NBA. He took it personal.
Took it personal.
Can he win can he not win Defensive Player of the Year? Is that just still off the table?
It's just because of the whole, worst defensive team in the league,
But does that only matter? Should that only matter for MVP?
So I was gonna bring these up during Pierce and Truth, the Wemby minute, but Wemby said no. I'm big time. I'll show up whenever. So here's your weekly Wemby what the heck stats of the week. Over the last 5 games.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think that was last 5 games. Oh, anyway, 5-game stretch where he averaged 29, 14.8 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4.6 blocks.
Whoa.
First NBA player in NBA history to average those numbers. Yeah, that's almost 5 blocks. I mean, you can't tell me that's not a top 15 player in the NBA. That's crazy.
He's gonna average like 25, 15, 5 assists, and 5 blocks. He's going to be the first 25, 15, 5, and 5 guy.
In the last 2 seasons, Gobert has had 245 blocks on 4,558 minutes, 141 games. Wemby hit that many blocks in 69 games. Nice. With 2,036 minutes. Wemby has had 8 7+ block games in 70 career games, while Gobert has had 7 and 754
in his whole career. And he's won the award
Bobo 3 did it first. Bobo did it first.
Bobo was the OG. In the Wemby documentary, there's gonna be a 3-minute side piece on how Bobo was the first one.
Mad if it is. I'm not gonna lie, I was a big Bobo fan though. I was like him on the Nuggets. Like what?
It's going to be you on the dock talking about Bobo.
2017 Warriors. And then, I actually watched him play. I'm like,
I don't know. Have you liked the Bobo minutes when he's checked in this year?
He's good, but he's not great.
But do you think he needs to play more?
I mean, I would. Yeah, I do think he needs to play more. But
some of the defensive stuff is not good, but he does flash offensively every now and then.
Yeah, every once in a while.
And I know the offense doesn't count for Defensive Player of the Year, but I mean, Gobert's not going to go drop 30 points in 17 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like threes too. Like it wasn't like he was just, backing down some of the paint. Like it was all over the court. And I mean, I think Wemby's just getting comfortable with the team, and he's like, okay, this is like my team. Like this is how I'm gonna do it, and he hasn't even had a whole off season yet.
And I mean, that's why they didn't shut. This is why they didn't shut him down as well too with the rest of the guys. I mean, Johnson's been out, Vassell, Sohan, but it's not just continue to get him reps. It's get him reps where he is absolutely 100% the sole focus of everything, which is what we were talking about earlier in the year that they kind of needed to get on that track a little bit more. And I mean, as the season's progressed, they definitely have. And I mean, Wembanyama, as his development has forced them to do that. But now that the fact that it's like, I mean, he's the fact that he is the only choice that they have allows them to actually do this kind of, you know, special stuff versus, I mean, you know, I'm not going to call a guy out. IT, bleep this out. Like, does Sohan let Wembanyama do this tonight?
Is Sohan calling for the Rock? If he's in. With a minimum of 50 games played of all rookies over the last 25 seasons, Wemby ranks first in blocks per game, second in rebounds per game, third in points per game, and 88th in minutes per game.
So he's got to be like number one on a per 36 out of all those guys. Mean, out of how many years? 25? Exactly.
Like he's playing less than like, I mean, I wonder how many minutes per game played for number one picks he's at, because you know, for normal players, I mean, he's at 88. I mean, that's a whole draft of guys, you know, maybe 2 or 3 that have played more minutes as rookies over him per game. So, you know,
so he's had the best rookie season of all time.
I think I'd put it up there. I think it definitely would put it up there.
Let me see what Kareem did as a rookie.
I mean, imagine if the Spurs actually played him.
Kareem played 43 minutes a game, was 28 and 14. They didn't keep blocks.
Wait, Devontae Graham's on your team? Shout out.
At that point. Third in MVP voting. I know. Devontae Graham, sneaky little serviceable backup point guard we can throw in there.
Shout out.
Champagny with 14 tonight. Your boy. Your Champagny Blanton.
Champagne.
Your Champagny Blanton team is going to look really nice.
I'm cooking. That's at least a playing team. I'm trying to look up his shooting splits, and I can't find it.
For Blanton?
No, of Wemby.
Oh.
I want to see how he did from 3.
And Kareem was second team All-NBA.
Like water. What? It's rookie year?
His rookie year. And it looks like the Bucks team that he was drafted on the year before was 27 and 55. And then they brought Kareem in. They went 56 and 26. But they also drafted Bob Dandridge that year as well. And I believe Bob Dandridge would go on to, be a Hall of Famer in his own right. So one of the all-time draft classes. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay, so Wemby was 5 of 12 from 3. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Halvesies. Yeah, no, that's insane.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about his percentages after a win. After carrying the team versus the MVP of the league. After outplaying Jokic, dare I say?
No, he did. I mean, he dragged this team. They were up. I mean, the Nuggets were up, 83-60? And then they just stopped scoring. Yeah, 81-60. And then they just stopped scoring here. Like this is honestly like one of the worst losses of the year.
Or a great win by Wembanyama.
It feels hyperbole. Obviously, hyperbole. Prisoner of the moment. But I mean, this is the number 1 team in the West against the worst, record-wise team in the West. And this is a game y'all need. Like, I get it's on the road, but it's a game you need. Your whole team's healthy. You just beat the Timberwolves at home. Like, you can't tell me you're cooked. And Wemby came back from 81-60 on his own and beat y'all. Like he's literally just pulling this out of his butt. Like, there's no way this should have happened.
They're running a lot of him and Zach Collins tonight as well, too. Wemby somehow finished -11 in the plus-minus. Shout out to Blake Wesley, -28 on the evening. I love Blake Wesley. He's tries really hard when he's in there. The man hustles.
Yeah, I'm
and
not going to act like Wemby scored every bucket. But
we've needed some defense. No, again, we'll take the win. Jokic with the
this is a
-1.
fully healthy team. I don't know. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. And they went into the fourth quarter with the Spurs down by like 11, 12. You know, Wemby turns the ball over right in early in the fourth. I mean, it's not like, you know, the Spurs were dominating the whole game. Like the Nuggets were up by quite a bit in the fourth, up by 17 at one point.
Up by 12 with 8 minutes left.
Yeah, like this is a straight up bad loss.
And Jokic is checking into the game without Wemby.
I don't know.
David Duke Jr.
Well, yeah, shout out. It looks like, you know, looks like Max Avelia is the one who, you know, him and Wemby were tag teaming in the paint to drag this team back. But yeah, you know, we got to recognize NBA history when it happens. And this is like one of those moments where, you know, see a little greatness. Just a little blip before the end of the season for the Spurs and Wemby.